Hello racers, welcome back. As we just got back from Paris, Escape Jean Monnet Sector Qualifier, it was a 490 player limited event. So let's see what decks we built and how we perform.
Yep. So this is my layout that I've built on day one. It was sealed. So this layout was very strong, especially the late portion of the game was very powerful. Like I had Amidala, Figure of Unity, Naboo Security, Shadow Crawler, Crucible. Yeah, I had a lot of bombs later in the curve. The early game was like so. Like I had like okay units. I didn't found any of the one drops that are very powerful with Leia. I got like Sanders 8, but that's not necessarily like that great of a one play with Leia's ability as like the Danny's missionary or whatever that card is called, or like the Canyon Runner and cards like that. But yeah, the early game was still okay. I of course played Aggressive Negotiation, Beguile, Out of Aspect. Like those cards are just so good that you should play them in pretty much any deck, and the aspect penalty just is just completely irrelevant. One card I wanted also to showcase in this deck was the fact that they had like 1 in million. I heard some people saying that 1 in million is not a great card. Like I remember like midway through the tournament there was one guy from Poland who actually asked me how many times I've even played that 1 in million, and I ended up playing it quite a few times during the tournament. And the reason why this card is actually good is because in Leia is because it is a very low opportunity cost for what it can give you. Like you just always resource it so it doesn't like clog your hand. So yeah, you can just resource it, and then when you flip her, you might have an opening to play it and kill some big unit. I killed like 2 or 3 times, like 5 minions. In one of the games, I played a different plot card. I played Sneaky Suspicion for 2, and then I ended up playing 1 million after that to kill a 3/3 minion. And speaking of Sneaky Suspicion, I had also pretty good yellow, like early units, like in my sealed pool, but I had like completely zero late game. So what I ended up doing is when I was playing against aggro decks, I was switching my base to yellow, and I was siding in all of those early yellow units. And the reason for that is because against the aggro decks, I knew that I'm gonna probably win the late game regardless, and so I don't need the late game units as much, and I want to have like more of those early units. I had like 2 Bail Organas, I had the 2 Canyon Runners, and a few of those very strong early units, but zero late game. But yeah, it worked pretty decently. I ended up losing to one aggro player, but we'll get into that later. So this was that, and yeah, that's kind of it when it comes to this deck.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at your day one performance.
Yeah. So I ended up going 7-2. I remember when we started the whole tournament, I showed Beton my deck, what I ended up building, and when he saw what cards they had, he was like, "Oh, if you don't go 9-0 with this deck, it's gonna be a pretty bad result." And I was like, "Will do my best," but yeah, I ended up not doing that well. I ended up 7-2, so not like what I was hoping for. I was like, yeah, kind of aiming for like X1, so 8-1. I ended up losing to one Leia player who I faced off later in the tournament as well again. So yeah, I lost to him. He had also a pretty strong Leia. And I also lost to Philip, to his Slimer, which you'll see in a second.
Yeah, so let's see what I've built. So this is the Slimer Green. I didn't open a single heroic leader, at least playable leader. So I was kind of forced into playing villains. And to be honest, this was basically the 30 cards that I've played. I during the whole tournament sideboarded one card, and it was versus Sip, and it was mostly because I knew what deck he has. I knew exactly what his list is, so I sideboarded one Senator's spaceship that you can name a card, reveal your opponent's hand, and it gets experience tokens. And if you know the exact list of your opponent, this card is quite good. It didn't really matter in the game we played, but it's the only sideboard card I did during the entire tournament. It's a hyper aggro deck. I get 7 1-drops. And 1-drops are especially good with Slimeore because you can really easily fit them with her ability. So you can go double 1-drop turn 1, 2-drop plus 1-drop turn 2, or if you play double 1-drop turn 1, it's also really easy to have Sly's ability active on turn 2. So I kind of nicknamed this deck Leia Killer because 7 out of my 9 opponents, they won were Leia, and I didn't lose a single one. And it was mostly because Leia was too slow to stop that amount of units, especially in the set when there is basically no removal. Key cards in this deck are Garindan, Beguile, and 1-drops. This is basically what were the most important. My favorite line of the deck was when my opponent was playing Sentinel on 5, and I was, okay, Beguile it, deploy Sly, play Garindan, and discard the Sentinel. And I did that play like 5 times during the tournament. And yeah, so let's see my games. So I lost only one game in round 7 into the Uraren Yellow that had really similar list to mine, really aggressive Uraren. The only kind of fun factor of his deck was that he had 2 Tarkin, and it basically won him the game, both games, because in the game 1 he stole my 4/4 ship, and in the game 2, even though I discarded Tarkin with Garindan, then he showed me that he had another one, so he had 2. And yeah, he was just faster than me, and rest of the tournament I was playing Leia, and also I think in round 8 I was playing on stream versus Uraren Red, but those games went pretty easily because I managed to just overwhelm him in space. So I managed to do exactly the kind of score that I hoped for, A1. So I still had a life left into day 2, into the draft, and I was thinking, yeah, okay, doing 2-1 in a draft shouldn't be that hard. This is the format that I feel really comfortable with. But yeah, we may see in a moment what happened. So, but let's see first SIP's day 2 draft.
I think this is actually yours list. So
okay. Yeah. So we can start with mine. So I was seated in the pod 1. I ended up first, and the top 8 players were seated to do the draft. And our pod was extremely weird because we didn't have a single Leia in the pod. And we basically had only 2 heroic leaders, that at least 2 that were playable enough that people may think of playing her. So we had 1 Luton and 1 Mon Mothma, and it ended up in a situation that you were seeing 5th or 6th or even 7th pick Mina Bonteri, or Typho was 4th pick. So those 2 people that had heroic deck had basically weak leaders, but extremely good decks. And what kinda hurt me a lot during this draft was the fact that organizers told us that we were going to play the person on the opposite side of the table, as you should in draft, and all of the games will be inside the pod. And the second part was true. We were playing the people inside the pod, but the pairings were random, and it actually is really unfortunate because when you know who you're going to play, you make a different decisions. I knew that I will be playing one of those heroic decks, so I knew I need to have a deck that can beat really powerful units. So I overdrafted removal, and I went into Uralen blue. Blue was the only color that was open. It was the only color that I knew that I need to draft. But if I wasn't put in a position that I would be playing versus heroic, if I would be playing versus anyone else, I would probably draft Sly blue, because yellow was also kind of open, but Sly is not as good as beating heroic, like low power decks, as because when your opponent also deploys on 5, it's harder than beating Leia. But in the end, I think the biggest issue with my deck is the mana curve. I don't have really that powerful early game. I have really low amount of free drops, and then my top end is I have really good fives, but there is basically nothing else, and I have a lot of removal that is a little bit unusable in many situations. So sadly for me, uh, this deck didn't perform very well. So now let's see the Sips deck.
Yeah, so my deck ended up being definitely stronger. So I was in like third pool of like the third pod, and I ended up going with Jabba. So this is one of the differences between like sealed and like the draft, that in draft you can actually get good Jabba deck because blue villainy is a color that is not that strong with other leaders in this set. So many decks like Yularen, Dedra, Sly, they don't really want to be in blue. And same goes for Heroic. Like Leia is pretty much the only one that really wants to be blue. The rest kind of wants to pick between green, red, or yellow just to be like more aggressive. And that gives an opening to potentially be the only player who drafts a blue villainy. And that's exactly what ended up happening. So I was the only Jabba player on the table. I saw that person on my left and right have both slime morphs, and I was expecting them both to go with red, and that's what ended up happening. Like the person on my right definitely went with red. The person on my left, I don't remember, but yeah, I think he also went slide red. So I knew that green, blue, black is gonna be solid color. And I had a little bit of a choice. I could go also Yularen blue, but yeah, from what I was drafting, I just realized that yeah, a lot of sentinels, a lot of ambush units. Maybe not a lot of ambush units. I actually had only one, but a lot of like sentinels and cards that synergize with Jabba. So I ended up playing him, and you can see that this deck is absolutely busted. Like two condemns, Nihilus. I got even like the Krennic for the long like Leia games. I knew that there are 3 Leias in my pod, so I was like, yeah, the Krennic looks solid. Funnily enough, I got Krennic like very late. Like it was when I was like past like last 2 cards, I got like Krennic, so I was like, yeah, might as well play it, and I ended up playing it even at least once. I remember I played it in the against Zemo actually, the one of our Patreon in the last round. But yeah, Umbara cannons, like all of like great stuff, and Blue Villainy was like super open. Again, a little bit like weak point of the deck was the early units. Like the 2 drops were not fantastic. I had like the Zam Wesley with like the 1/5, but the rest of the 2 drops were kind of like so. Like the Warden, Lost Jedi, ASP, and Envoy are not really that great turn 1 plays. So that was a little bit of a weak point of the deck, but yeah, the rest was strong. Also, I didn't have like that many free cost, but with the free cost, my strategy was just play a unit turn 1 and then turn 2 play an upgrade on it and just have that. So like Disciples Devotion or Corridor's Claim and just go with that, and then like spam just big units, because like seeing like from 4 resources onward, my all of my units were pretty broken, especially with Jabba's synergy. Like that was definitely a strong point of the deck.
Yeah, having 2 Zam and then 3 Disciples Devotion is quite a nice combo to have.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
I actually like, we're speaking of that like Disciples Devotion, I got like really lucky because I picked up the Creator's Claim pretty early, but I have seen 0 Disciples Devotion and like in the first 2 packs. And in the third pack, I ended up picking 3 of them, which was absolutely crazy. But yeah, the Disciples Devotion really saved me. And yeah, I've been doing this Zam Wesley, Disciple Devotion, Creator's Claim combo a few times. So yeah, that was definitely very strong.
Yeah, you also, I told you, you got Nihilus on like 3rd pick, which is kind of crazy when you are sitting next to 2 villainous players.
Yeah, I agree. Like the person who like opened the Hilos, I'm he went heroic, so he couldn't play regular Nihilos. Like I guess he could hate draft. The person on my right probably should have picked the Nihilos, but he didn't. I don't know what he ended up picking. I actually played against him, and like his reasoning was that he didn't want to kill his spies because he was playing Sly, which yeah, okay, but yeah, I think Nihilos is such a bomb that you should play it. So that was that.
Yeah, and in the end, as you can see, I didn't win a single game on day 2. My deck, while playing, felt even worse than I expected it to be. I didn't really have most of a play. You can see game 1 on stream versus Fabiano. The games were not that explosive. They were kind of close, but there was not even like one situation when I was ahead in them. Then I played versus Thais, and last 2 games I played versus the both heroic decks that we had on the table, and both of those decks were insane. Like double Padme, like double Amidala, Rex, everything, like Obi-Wan into Lightmaker, like every single powerful heroic unit you can think of, they had it. And even though I drafted my deck kinda to beat them, I didn't expect their decks to be that stacked. And in the end, I probably should have just go Sly and draft an aggro space decks, even though there wasn't a lot of picks that I could have done for them. Blue was so open that I could have fit those yellow cards, and probably my deck would be better.
Yeah, for sure. And like speaking of opening like good bombs and not being able to play them, like I had also like similar experience. Like I actually opened first pack. I opened Namek. Like Namek is like a good card. He's like not necessarily like a bomb because he's just a little bit better than other 2 drops. But yeah, I couldn't pick that one. And in the third pack, I remember I opened Rex, so I also had a bomb. But I ended up picking Umbara Cannon from that booster. Like I could technically hate pick the Rex, but yeah, Umbara Cannon was also a bomb, so and that I could play in the deck. Actually, Rex could be also played in the deck, so there was that. But yeah, I ended up picking the Cannon. And yeah.
And yeah, you won all 3 games. You got into top 8. But before we go into that, we forgot to talk about one, at least important part for me, because we actually played each other. And I wanted to only talk about it because of one of the games. Because game 1 you beat me. It was quite close. And you almost lost because of your early game. So game 2 and game 3 you switched to your yellow Leia. And game 2 I think I had like a really explosive opening. I managed to close the game. And game 3 it was the only game the whole tournament that I've managed to mill Leia player. we went to no cards to like 2 minutes in the clock, and it's, for me especially, it's really rare to happen to have like such a long game. But it was a really nice game, and it was completely different than normal games because we both knew our decks, so we knew what to expect and what to play. But in the end, like I think the advantage of me playing aggro was still too big for that Leia to handle.
Yeah, and like funny enough, I also like I knew that Beton will be expecting me to play Leia yellow, and like I knew that he will be expecting me to have like not that much late game. So actually, I splashed the Amidala for 7 in the deck still. Like so, I had her. Unfortunately, in the third game, I had her in my opening hand, so I had to resource her. So didn't work out for me. But yeah, you can sometimes even play those cards out of aspect and still do well. But
I will also just, so the most important card in that game was actually the hired slicer, because I've used this ability 3 times. So I saw 6 cards of your deck that I knew were on the bottom, and I knew if we get to the last bottom 6 cards, I win, because there was nothing on those 6 cards. Like your 6 worst cards in the deck were on the bottom of your deck. And so my whole game plan was, okay, I just need to survive. I need to have enough of a board advantage to not lose. and it basically, when we got to the 6 cards, I was like, okay, yeah, I don't know one card in your hand, but the next 6 you draw are dead. So I knew I will just, at the moment, I just switch into attacking base, and it closed the game. Yeah, but in the end, even though I beat you this time, you still went higher into top 8. So this is the top 8. There are a lot of players that we already played against or know, especially Jędrzej, that is one of our Polish players that we played a lot versus each other. So this was kind of a stacked top 8, so a lot of experienced players. And drafting versus experienced players is a little bit different. So you can tell us what were the differences in your draft.
Yeah, so here's my deck, and it was Yularen yellow. So, like, the first thing that is pretty like easy to see is that this deck doesn't have like many crazy cards in it. Like, I have a front 7 cost, which is like, yeah, good card. Like, maybe you can call it him even a bomb, but besides him, I didn't have like that many like OP cards. I had like one Beguile, so there was that, and like Elia Kane, which is like also a solid minion, and one 2-mana 3/3 minion, but nothing like super OP. And that's exactly kind of how I would how I would like view the deck. So it's a deck that has solid curve. Like, I have a good amount of 2-drops, good amount of 3-drops. Pretty like all of those units are okay. Like Thailander Shuttle, like SB Shuttle, solid 2-drops. Like, they are not like terrible 2-drops. Okay, 4 cost. Like, I had only 3 of them, but it was like still okay. Especially because Elia was like one of them, and yeah, she's definitely a very good card. Good 5 cost, and then nothing else. And in the whole drafting process, I haven't seen much of like expensive cards. Like, there were some red cards. There was like 1 or 2 Galeons and some of cards in red, but I committed to yellow quite early, and like Beton also like told me that, yeah, I think this was correct reasoning, that yeah, I ended up like going into yellow pretty heavily early on, and I picked the shuttle, I picked the front, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm hard committing to yellow at that point, and I haven't seen much of the top end. I haven't seen like the Nabu security force and like Crucible. Like, Crucible would be, I probably would need to like open the Crucible, but yeah, probably no one would pass that to me. But yeah, this deck was okay, but didn't have anything explosive. If you're actually interested in like watching the drafting process, my point of view was actually streamed, so you can see my drafting decision and kind of what I was picking. So yeah, if you are interested in that, check out the OPE stream. And pretty sure Al was commentating that part of the deck,
Yeah.
of the drafting.
Yeah, I can only add that this is one of the few drafts that I basically agreed with every single decision you've made during it. I think you were put into a quite hard position because you were between players that you knew will be kinda taking a lot of your stuff, but you couldn't really pivot because, as you said, a lot of your early 2-drops were only in yellow, so you had to commit, and you also got your like the biggest bump in yellow. And this is one of the decks that, even though it's good, it doesn't have anything that is extremely oppressive and any like way to really win the game if your opponent just plays on curve as fast as you. So you would probably beat most decks that are not like really stacked or have like really powerful units.
Yeah, and
But
one thing I also wanted to add about this list is like about the drafting process, because in my opening 3 leaders, the 3 leaders I was picking from were Yularen, Sabe, and there was like a third one, like those like unplayable. I don't remember what that was, but yeah, something that I knew that I'm not playing. And I saw person on the right opened also Sabe. He also had like 2 other leaders, and the person on my left opened Yularen and 2 other leaders, and I was expecting both of them to pick those leaders that I mentioned. So person on the right, Sabe, person on my left, Yularen, and I myself opened Yularen and Sabe, and so I had to pick basically between either Yularen or the Sabe as my leader, because I saw from the left the leaders that I was about to get, and also like from the person that was like sitting two spots from me, and that person was also not gonna give me like a good leader. So I knew that the leader that I'll pick at the start will be the leader that I'll be probably playing. So yeah, the choice was between Yularen and Sabe, and I ended up picking Yularen because the person on my right was the Sabe player, and he was passing me 2 packs, and the person on the left was passing me only 1 pack. So I knew that it's better to play Yularen because at least the person on the right will be like picking a little bit more heroic. So I'll be like clashing a little bit less with the cards that I want with that person. Unfortunately, the person on the left obviously ended up winning Yularen, so like my second pack was maybe not as great because he was like taking all of those um, green black cards, and I realized that he's probably playing red, so like that's why also like I was like even more committing to yellow, and I'm pretty sure he ended up playing red, so that was like even better reason to play with to play yellow, and that's why I ended up playing Yularen. I could have played technically Sabe, but yeah, I don't think it would be a good choice because the person on the right was giving me 2 packs, and I was expecting him to play Sabe, so yeah, that's where my decision was coming from with the leaders.
Yeah, and of course, you can see the game that you played on stream. Sadly, your deck wasn't enough to win. The games were actually close. You made them very competitive. Even like one of the games, I thought that you even may that the one that you lost that you may even win, but sadly, your opponent had a really powerful list, and uh, the games were really entertaining. So I encourage everybody to give them a watch.
Yeah, for sure. Like this game, both like all the whole best of three was great. It was really fun to play that game, and those were like long games. I remember like when I look at the time at the end, I think we had like 8 minutes remaining. So in Top Cut you have the 20-minute extension. I think I don't remember exactly, but it's like the time for the Top Cut is extended. So those were like very exhausting games, and even though I was playing aggro and he was playing control, like usually like the games that are long are control versus control, but these were like some long games, and there was like a lot of thinking from both me and my opponent. So he's actually the person who I ended up losing in Swiss to. He was also playing Leia back then, so I lost to him twice, which yeah happens. And yeah, he had like a very good Leia that was like maybe like he has like solid Leia. He had like Coronet and a few like solid cards. He didn't like have like many like bombs. He had Rotunda, the Coronet probably like was like a really good bomb. I think he had like 1 or 2 Beguiles, but yeah. The biggest problem was like Leia Yellow specifically is the best at beating like the aggro strategies, and he had also like a lot of like anti-aggro cards. Like again like the 2 Rotundas, Coronet, Nibble Prowess, the 1/4 Canyon Runners, Lobot. He had a lot of like early game units that are just very good at trading and just countering the aggro. So it was very hard for me to play against him. But yeah, basically all 3 games were close, and I definitely encourage you to check them out. They were a lot of fun, and yeah, and that was unfortunately the end of my top 8 run. So
Yeah.
ended up on the 7th spot. So there was that, and yeah, pretty solid result.
Yeah, it's still another top 8 in the sector qualifiers. I've ended up at 1225, so still some decent amount of leaderboard points. But I am kind of disappointed of my day 2. I wish I could redo it and pick Sly and see how it went. But I maybe next time, maybe we'll get another limited sector qualifier in the next set. And as always, I want to thank all of our Patreons. We met quite a few of you during the event. It's always nice to meet you. And as for our content going forward, we don't really have any big tournaments in this set. So we will transition to building new decks from the new set. The new set looks incredible. I think the game will change a lot, and a lot of new strategies will be possible. So I'm really excited to show you guys what we are working on in the upcoming days.
Thank you for watching and see you next time.